When President John F. Kennedy was assassinated on November 22, 1963, the entire world demanded answers. Who had fired the shots? Why had it happened? And most importantly, was the killer acting alone? Within hours, investigators focused on a single man. His name was Lee Harvey Oswald. For many Americans, the name appeared suddenly. One moment he was unknown, the next, he was the most famous suspect in the country. Yet the story of Lee Harvey Oswald did not begin in Dallas. It began years earlier, long before Dealey Plaza, long before the assassination, long before history remembered his name. Lee Harvey Oswald was born in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1939. His father died before he was born. His childhood was unstable. The family moved frequently. Financial struggles were common. Throughout his early years, Oswald often appeared isolated and disconnected from those around him. Teachers and classmates later described him as intelligent but withdrawn. Some recalled a young man who preferred being alone. Others remembered someone who seemed angry at the world. As he grew older, Oswald developed a fascination with politics. Not ordinary politics, radical politics. He became interested in Marxism, communism, revolutionary ideas that stood in direct opposition to mainstream American thinking during the Cold War. This was an unusual path, especially for a young man growing up during a period when fear of communism dominated public life. In 1956, he joined the United States Marine Corps. At first glance, the decision seemed contradictory. A young man fascinated by Marxist ideology serving in the American military. Yet Oswald often lived with contradictions. During his military service, he received firearms training. This fact would later become highly significant. Investigators examining the Kennedy assassination wanted to understand whether Oswald possessed the skills necessary to make difficult shots. Marine records showed he qualified as a marksman, not an elite sniper, not a legendary shooter, but someone capable of handling a rifle effectively. The debate over his shooting abilities continues even today. Some experts believe his military training made the assassination possible. Others argue the shots were far too difficult. The argument remains part of the larger controversy surrounding the case. After leaving the Marines, Oswald made a decision that shocked many people. In 1959, he traveled to the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War. This was not tourism. This was defection. Oswald announced his intention to abandon the United States and live under communist rule. American authorities were stunned. The Soviet Union itself was surprised. At first, Soviet officials viewed Oswald with suspicion. Defectors could be spies, propaganda opportunities, or political problems. Eventually, however, Oswald was allowed to remain. He settled in Minsk. For a time, he appeared satisfied. He worked. He lived in an apartment provided by Soviet authorities. He married a Russian woman named Marina. To outside observers, it looked as though he had found the life he wanted. But appearances can be deceptive. As months passed, Oswald became increasingly disappointed. Life inside the Soviet Union did not match his expectations. The reality differed from the ideology. The excitement faded. The frustration grew. Eventually, Oswald did something almost as surprising as his defection. He returned to the United States. In 1962, Oswald arrived back in America with Marina and their young daughter. The return raised questions. How could a former defector simply come home? Why had the government allowed it? At the time, the answers seemed unimportant. After November 22nd, they became subjects of intense scrutiny. Back in America, Oswald struggled to build stability. Jobs came and went. Financial problems persisted. Relationships became strained. Friends described him as restless, difficult, frustrated. A man searching for purpose, but unable to find it. His political interests remained intense. He became involved with pro-Castro activism, distributed political leaflets, participated in debates, expressed strong opinions about world events. To some people, he appeared committed to political causes. To others, he seemed more interested in attention. Investigators later spent years trying to understand his motivations. Was he driven by ideology, personal frustration, a desire for recognition, or something else entirely? The answer remains uncertain. In 1963, Oswald moved to Dallas. There he found employment at the Texas School Book Depository. At the time, it seemed like an ordinary job. Nothing remarkable. Nothing historic. Just another workplace. Yet fate would place that building directly along President Kennedy's motorcade route. And on November 22nd, that coincidence became one of the most important facts in the investigation. When police searched the Texas School Book Depository after the assassination, evidence began pointing toward Oswald. Witness statements, physical evidence, the location itself, investigators quickly identified him as a person of interest. But events moved even faster than expected. That afternoon, another tragedy occurred. Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit was shot and killed. Witnesses reported seeing a suspect. Descriptions circulated. Police intensified their search. Hours later, officers entered a movie theater. Inside sat Lee Harvey Oswald. When police attempted to arrest him, a struggle followed. Oswald was taken into custody. The man now at the center of the largest investigation in America had been captured. News spread immediately. Television cameras gathered. Reporters crowded police headquarters. Questions flew in every direction. Who was Lee Harvey Oswald? Did he kill President Kennedy? Did he act alone? Was there a conspiracy? The pressure on investigators was overwhelming. Everyone wanted answers. Oswald suddenly found himself under the brightest spotlight imaginable. Yet something unexpected happened. He denied everything. Repeatedly, firmly, publicly. When reporters shouted questions, Oswald insisted he was innocent. At one point, he made a statement that would become famous around the world, a statement that remains associated with him to this day. He said, "I'm just a patsy." The word instantly entered history. A patsy. Someone framed, someone set up, someone used by others. The statement raised a possibility that continues to divide people more than 60 years later. Was Oswald lying, or was he telling the truth? The question sits at the center of the JFK mystery. Supporters of the official investigation argue that evidence points directly to Oswald. Critics argue that unanswered questions remain. The debate has never ended. Yet one fact is undeniable. Oswald never received a trial. He never presented a defense before a jury. He never fully explained his actions. Because before that could happen, another shocking event occurred. An event witnessed live by millions of Americans. An event that transformed the investigation forever. 2 days after the assassination, while being transferred to police headquarters, Lee Harvey Oswald would be shot. In front of television cameras, in front of police officers, in front of the entire nation. The man who might have answered history's most important questions was about to die, and with him, many answers may have died as well. In the next episode, Lee Harvey Oswald declares his innocence. Then Jack Ruby steps forward from a crowd. A gun is fired, and one of the most shocking moments ever broadcast on live television unfolds. This is Echoes of Humanity TV, youtube.com @Echoes of Humanity TV.